Welcome to our Heart's Compass 30-Day Tarot Poetry Challenge reading. We spent the month of April writing to tarot cards using 4 different strategies to connect to tarot cards and create new poetry. And these were the ways that we worked with the poems. There's 4 ways you can think about this, many ways, but here are 4. You can connect our experiences to the energy of the card and the deck maker's description by tarot journaling to the imagery in the card itself. You can also use ekphrasis, where you connect to the imagery in the tarot card to imagine into its story based on the imagery. You can also read poems based on a thematic aspect of the tarot card under study. And then another thing you can do is reference poems that are written in a particular form that might mirror the energy of the tarot card in some way and try that form. So during the month of April, that is what we did. We looked at our experiences in relation to the imagery through ekphrasis, thematic, as well as looking at form. So what I'm going to do today is introduce our poets one at a time, and then you'll get to hear some of the poems they created, and you'll see the tarot card on the screen that they wrote the poem, the corresponding tarot card. So our first reader is Rebecca Jane, and Rebecca Jane is a mother and a deep yoga and meditation practitioner. She writes fiction, essays, and poetry. She studies yoga philosophy and Sanskrit, and teaches privately, combining contemplative practices with creative writing. More of her work can be found at yogima.org. She teaches Meditate and Write Flash and Deep Creativity at San Diego Writers, Inc. I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you, Tania. So this title actually changed to More Tender Mystery. He promised their minds would birth new stars, then pushed her off the flight over the eastern abyss of abuse. She landed on her feet, confided in a white mouse at a mountain monastery. The creature scurried away, making off with her élan and muting her mystery. She lived alongside sleepy sages who made up no small secrets to conceal. Years later, her readers complained the poems she wore were too revealing. She wore skimpy lyrics, hoping someone would ask that what she longed to reveal. That nerves sent toxic missives, muscles tensed up a storm, cells simulated dead stars. Oh, the life she could have lived, but for the load of harm his arms forced her to conceal. Crowds leaned ears to a meathead's infectious affection for pain-imbibing abuse. No one noticed a biosphere fading in the radiance of false mystery. If possible, she'd have made it a rule, only mice, no men allowed in her monastery. Ages passed, insects and birds nested and hatched in the abandoned monastery. The poetess had since turned to stone, petrified by true beauty forbidden to be revealed. Wind and fire danced on altars without giving a flying fig for divinity-defying mystery. The dark night of the song's last wail filled ritual bowls with a riot of stars. Where there was once human touch, there was mist and dew. There was no abuse. Or who knows, do forces of nature and light years have private disgrace to conceal? Earth's love language turned high wind with eyes so silent they kept cores concealed. She liked a good tornado with enough strength to launch that crumbling monastery. Its walls flew off and rushed through clouds to mix with rain, rejoiced the end of abuse. When dust settled, the sun stretched out its beams to tickle up ocean floor revelation. She laughed her ashes off and heaved more sacred sights, raged cyclones to reach stars. A new creature slept beneath the surface with primeval bloom and balm in its mystery. Without Latin names for things, without Sanskrit scholars, dust deviated from mystery. The planet grew thirsty, longed for the return of bodies with juicy secrets to conceal. What's an Earth to do when she's getting nothing but heat or silence from her star? She quaked to awaken the new beings. Sky called up a new forest green monastery. Now, star-crossed scribes sit for hours, envisioning leafy longings only love will reveal. They pluck language out of thin air, write as rain, no word foreign, no word for abuse. Euphoria trees grow within pleasure blossoms on an earth free of abuse. Cheerful monk genies have golden, noiseless bodies hooped in wonder's mystery. Their airborne babes breathe aerated riddles that logic and magic together reveal. With 1,000 ways to greet fresh air and spring dawn, joy is never concealed. When these weightless creatures die, sweet fragrances smoke out the cozy monastery. Every being knows the number and distance, the names and dreams of all the stars. Light minds promise and deliver, giving birth to celestials, to suns, to moons, to stars. Soft creatures sway, bliss, love, play, and their dances conjure a more tender mystery. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. We have Marcia Meier is next, and Marcia Meier is an author, poet, developmental book editor, and writing coach. Her latest book is Face, a memoir published by Saddle Road Press in January 2021. Marcia's poems have appeared in Writers Resist, Prime Number Magazine Online, the anthology Knocking at the Door, Poems About Approaching the Other, and Sage Trail Literary Magazine. She has studied with Carolyn Forche, Hedgebrook in March 2016, and Kim Adonizio 6-week poetry workshop in fall 2017. A newspaper journalist for nearly 20 years, she has freelanced or written for numerous publications. She holds a bachelor's degree in journalism and an MFA in creative writing, and has taught workshops and numerous college and university courses. Welcome, Marcia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tania. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to read 3 poems that I wrote during this, our April challenge. And the first one is called Murmurs of Possibility, and it was written to this card, the Ace of Cups, from the Inner Child deck. Murmurs of Possibility. As this day opens, I am mindful of spring's promise, gifts of birdsong and flower petals opening, of owl calls and grief unveiling. This moment commands acceptance, perhaps an acquiescence, as coming light foretells warmth, birth, unfolding. A pandemic warning. Might we see the wave of vaccinations as harbinger for spring, for renewal and emergence, for hope, finally, for possibility again? This moment endures for only a blink, but it's pregnant with hope like the flash of green as the sun drops below the horizon, offers a nanosecond of awe and lingering delight. This second poem is called The Scales, and it was written to the King of Cups on the Thoth deck. Actually, this is to the Emperor, I think. The Scales was for the Emperor. There we go. So the scales. Red, yellow, golden, face, arms, legs. He sits comfortably in his power, provokes jealousy and awe in my breast. I am a woman who has never been impressed with the emperor's scepter, but who has sought to wield it nonetheless. Eternal battle, yin and yang. I use syllables to say my power, words to press my own will upon others. Is this always the way of the empress in the presence of the king? Okay, and then this final poem is a cento for a king, written to the King of Cups in the Thoth deck. Some nights settled against him, my face in his neck. I missed him, feeling that he was elsewhere. All winter I have lived with ice. What about the dream of America? By night, love, tie your heart to mine, and the two, through all the burnt places of that almond world, it is where ghosts of memories live. Like Ruth, not knowing where I'm going, I was driven toward desire by desire. She considers which hour she would like to lose. Who are you and what do you love? My grief is not a lake. Between the words lost and losing, entire worlds change. Soothes for a moment the fangless ache. You must seize the freedom of falling. I succumb to the life I live, my century, my bed. Tell me, whose grief was more real?
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you.
See, our next reader is Canon Purdy. Canon is an avid reader and writer and works as a communications manager for a marine conservation nonprofit in San Diego. She grew up outside of San Diego and has since lived in the Bay Area and Japan. She holds a Bachelor of Arts from UC Davis and a Master of Advanced Studies in Marine Biodiversity and Conservation from Scripps Institute of Oceanography. After writing poems about isolation and pandemics for over a year, Canon is grateful for the chance for different inspiration with this class. Her favorite cards are the Magician and the Knight of Wands. Welcome, Canon.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with everyone. And I'm going to read 3 poems. And the first is La Soufriere. La Soufriere, which is a volcano in the Caribbean and written to the Strength card. Growing up, it was taught to me to show you are strong, you don't cry, you hold it in, and show your strength and worthiness through your silence, like a mountain, stalwart, noble, full of wisdom and bedrock, strength. But what kind of strength does a mountain of rock contain when all the world's water and wind can reduce it to a molehill? What kind of power does a mountain have against the roaring scream of the center of the earth, shot to the stratosphere, bleeding lava and belching ash with its rage? I will show you strength in the center of a tempest, a gale-force wind of tears and breath and wailing. I will show you strength in the depths of my sorrow, how the weight of the world's oceans passed through me, enough pressure to crush every bone, every wall, every barrier. I will show you strength in the lava snails of my resilience, ironclad against the heat of my desire. I will show you strength in the tremors of my chest, pushing shelves of granite deeper and higher across the whole length of my lifetime. I will show you strength in the whip of my longing, like the pull of the moon, strong enough to stabilize the whole earth, yet somehow unable to pull me to you. I will show you strength in my breath, an inhale in the eye of a storm, in my living room, in this meager, mortal, paper-thin and watery body, holding in the energy of a bursting star, each atom striking hard and clear against my heart, which still beats strong enough to bear it. The next one is to this beautiful deck based on mythology and called Meditation. Moonlight filtering in, quiet nights, feeling the loneliness, no familiar faces, one heart amidst thousands, millions all the same, beating their own drum to their own dance. Throw me into the fray with laughter, skin shimmering, the energy embraces like lightning. Fill me up, say we'll never be alone. Atoms scattered in the sky, help save my tears from falling. Save my tears from falling, atoms scattered in the sky, help me up, say we'll never be alone, embraces like lightning, full laughter, skin shimmering, the energy. Throw me into the fray with their drums to their own dance, millions all the same, beating one heart amidst thousands, loneliness, no familiar faces, quiet nights, feeling the moonlight filtering in. And the last is to the Tower card called Read Complaint number 427. Now listen, you asked for this. You asked for a change. You asked for excitement. You raised your gaze to heaven and begged to be released from the endless gray of an unremarkable existence. Didn't you know? No hero's journey is easy. Don't you remember? Every good love story ends in tragedy. Towers are meant to be broken. Hearts are meant to, too. Don't come asking me for glory, for sunshine, for love. I meant to break you, and I had to be broken to know just how to do it. What comes next? I certainly don't know. The point is the fall. The point is the crash. If you worry about what comes in the beyond, you're only going to fall farther. Once I have you face down in the mud, when you've given up, given in, when your little heart is in too many pieces to tremble, my skies are blue, my birds singing. I dare not take it easy on you. I could never fail you that way. If I don't burn you past recognition, if I don't peel you like a beet stripped to red nothingness, I couldn't sleep at night. And don't worry, long after this, when you've crawled, then walked, then ran from me, your wounds scarred over like armor, remembering me with a gentle gratitude of a long faded glimmer, I'll be waiting around the bend to grind you back down again until you grow softer, thinner, until you are like scattered atoms floating in space, diaphanous in the cosmic broil, as small as a quark, as vast as the universe, as brave as love, which of course you already are.
Thank you, Canon. Beautiful. I so enjoyed working with you this month. And so I thought I'd give us one last prompt. And because you worked with the tarot cards all month long and you saw 30 different images, I thought you might be ready to also try this simple 3-card poem where you write 3 interlocking stanzas and pull 3 cards, one talking about the past situation in the deck, one talking about the present, and then one talking possibly about the next step or the future, if you want to put it that way. So I'd love to see what you create if you give that a try. And I'm going to just join you and read one poem that I wrote a while ago in relation to the strength card as well. So this one is called Arguing with a Daughter, and I wrote it looking at the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the strength. Arguing with a Daughter, Tarot's Arcanum 8, Strength. Undone, I'm in the gown of the girl, holding jaw of the lion, his breath at my crotch. Belt cinches waist, extends round his neck, invisible Mobius ropes parallel omen for lemniscate of the magus, Arcanum 1. Or perhaps my daughter wears gown and I wear mane. I know no lion nor girl that mimic this pair, benign, garland crowned, sated, though once, when I was 10, I wrestled my mother's will and won. I stood on a chair with hammer to curtain in the outdoor cat that snuck in to birth her litter in attic sewing room, where earlier I tried on mother's wedding dress in secret, my body, near breastless, larger than hers at 19. When pregnant with me, she let my father marry her. When zipper caught at ribs base, I didn't force it, nor does she now insist I chase feline out. Once again, I'm larger than her and alone in the room. 4 sheer black sacks shimmer loose as cat spins, muse, tears kittens free. First pause, then bees of ears, frail gray milkweed pods of their eyes seemed shut despite heat of her tongue. So I'm going to bring us back, and I would love for us to just talk about our month of writing and what was, I guess I would ask what was most challenging for you and what was rewarding for you, and any poem you want to talk about of yours or any topic.
First of all, that was a beautiful poem. I saw it when you posted it, and I just thought it was so exquisite. So thank you for sharing that with us, Tanya. That was really lovely.
Thank
I
you.
just got rid of my cat. She was on my lap. Um, well, I loved our month of writing. The biggest challenge for me was being able to write every day. But I was surprised once I looked at all the poems that I did write that I got as many as I had written, and I feel like they have some have some work to do on them. But I was really pleased with them, and feel like a number of them may fit into my project that I'm writing right now, which is a writer's book of prayers. So that was really great. That was kind of the extra bonus coming out of the month of being able to have some things that I feel I can use in a project, in a writing project in progress. So thank you. I loved it. I loved meeting you other wonderful poets. It was really fun.
Marcia, was there a certain one of those 4 ways that we approached writing that worked for you, more or less, more than one or the other, or just depended on the card?
I think it depended on the card, because some of the cards really spoke to me from the imagery, and some of them it was more just the idea of the card, the idea behind the card. I typically really like to write ekphrastic poetry. So some of the poems, for example, the second one I read, which is the one about my cat chewed up my paper. Sorry. The second one, which I think I called The Scales. Yeah, that one I really wrote to the card in terms of the imagery in the card and the colors in the card. The other ones I think were mostly just kind of thematic, what the card meant to me when I started looking at the ideas behind them.
Hey, yeah. Rebecca, what about you? What was your experience like this month?
Yeah, it was a really rich experience. I'm very grateful, just having a message come through the email box every day with lots of rich material in there to work with was really phenomenal. And, meeting up with this group was really, just something to look forward to, and I feel really blessed. And yes, my tarot journey and exploration is continuing. Tanya, I have your book and I'm reading that, and I really connected with the Sestina form, and I just explored with that, and I plan to use it further. In fact, I wrote two more poems since then using that form. And I have a project that I'm completing for this yoga philosophy program that I'm in. And I'm bringing the Sestina form and a poem into my project there. So it's really helped me to expand my horizons and work with a new form that actually intimidated me before, but now I feel comfortable. So I really thank all of you for being such a warm group that just opened up a space that feels, very heart-centered and lovely. And the poems that I heard today, I really loved all of them. Really amazing stuff. So I look forward to reading more of all of your work in the future.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're Sestina. So as we know, the Sestina ends up turning on the words you choose. So those were for the star card. Do you remember how you came about choosing the end word?
I can't remember because I've done so much other stuff since then, but I can remember that the card, the imagery on the card certainly gave me the star word. And then I think I was working with just getting through this issue of abuse, and I felt like the image on the card looked like a whole other being, a being that felt pure and just unencumbered by a world that's full of abuse. So it was really ekphrastic. Yeah, I really used the imagery of the card to come up with those words.
Yeah, I love that idea that she really is that figure on that deck. She's outside of time. So it's like there's a planet above her and a planet below her, and she's kind of outside of the cosmos. So it's wonderful. Yeah, Canon, what about you?
Yeah, I just really enjoyed being part of this group, and thank you everyone for sharing your work and being such great soundboards that we could work together. I also really enjoyed having that prompt every day, and I think I struggle with writing consistently, and so it was a really good challenge for me to try and stick with writing every day. And sometimes I only had like 10 minutes or something, and making sure that I would write and could still be creative, still could make something that, maybe isn't perfect, but was expressive in that short amount of time, or if I had longer to kind of really sink my teeth into it. So that was a really great challenge. And I think one thing that there were a couple cards that I don't like. And so having to write to a card that I didn't like was a fun exercise to sort of be combative with it, or to sort of figure out how I could make peace with the card of the theme. So the diversity of prompts was really helpful to kind of mix everything up.
Yeah, like in that the tower. That's so wonderful that you stepped in and spoke directly in a way to the tower. Do you want to talk about that? Complaint number 427. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, I thought I was, doing a lot of thinking about sort of the low points in life, and how the tower card is like the bad card, and oh no, if you get it. But thinking about how those moments need to happen in order to transition or to be able to move on. And sometimes it's not a pretty transition. And so I thought, how does the tower feel about that? Like, this card's job is to screw up your life, and how proud the tower must be when like your life really goes to shambles because it did its job so well. So I like to kind of come at it from the side and think like, well, it's doing its job. So maybe even if I'm, upset, I can be happy that somebody's satisfied.
Yeah, I love that. And then, you did the mirror format in the meditation for the temperance card. Any thoughts about that process? Like, did you notice what happened with reversal in that?
Yeah, that was pretty challenging because I think that was another one that I didn't have as much time. So I was sort of trying to do it quickly, and that ended up being a nice challenge to see just even how like verbs and nouns would fit in different ways through the poem. And I really like the challenge of it. So I think I want to do that more and see how, if I can make it really different, the reversal to like, be really a different kind of feeling in each side.
Yeah. Let's see, Marcia, I was thinking about you with the cento form. I never know whether it's cento or cento, but did you have any thoughts? Because I know you have written them before. Was there anything different about working with the form in tarot?
Yeah, it was, well, the interesting thing, and it's called a cento, which is a tab 100. Yeah. So, yeah, what I thought was really interesting about this poem in particular was how quickly it fell together. Because I was just going through all my poetry books, and I would find a line and it was like, yep, that's the next one. And I think I only moved maybe 2 or 3 lines around it at the end of it to make it kind of make more sense. But yeah, it was one of those poems that just kind of came together really easily, which always makes me a little nervous because I always think that was too easy, But yeah, and fun. I didn't read all of the pieces or all the poems that I took it from, but almost every one of them is a poetry friend who's published a book. including Ms. Tania Pryputniewicz. So that was really fun to go through all of my friends' books and find lines that just felt like they just fell into place in this poem. So I really like this form. I would, I actually am very fond of sestinas and pantoums as well. So when I go back to the prompts that I didn't get to write to, I'll probably use some of those forms as well.
Yeah, and that was the King of Cups. So that's a very, if we think about him as King of Hearts in a way, that's a very King of Hearts type thing to do, to pull your friend's book off the shelf and include them all in the cup of that King of Cups poem.
That's a really cool thing. Thank you for.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting if you could with any of the prompts, take the form you love the most and pour it across all of the cards. And that would be fun exercise too. So I'll be excited to see what you do with it. Let's see. Anything else you wanted to talk about? Did you end up becoming attracted to a different deck through the different images?
I definitely wrote to the Daughters of the Moon cards more than any of the others. I think that those images just spoke to me in almost all the instances. There were some that were not always, but I would say more than any other, it was the Daughters of the Moon deck that I was writing to, which is kind of interesting. Made me think of going ahead and getting it, because that's one deck I don't have. I have 4 or 5 different decks, but I don't have that one. And because you gave us the cat deck a couple of times, I want to go buy the cat deck too.
You're the one who gave me the cat deck, isn't that right?
So I have to go get my own deck.
Let's see, Canon and Rebecca, what decks that you were attracted to during the month?
Yeah, I have 2 decks of my own, and I think that I forget what it's called, the collage one.
Voyager.
Yeah, that was really my grandmother would make collages. She's an artist, so that made me think of her and kind of her process. So I was really attracted to that deck, and I really liked. Well, I don't want to get too many decks because then I'll just like have overflowing, but I really like that they're so different. And so it's the same concept at the base, but however the artist interprets it creates this whole other feeling, and really digging into that feeling of that card and that artist, I think is a really awesome way to explore these concepts, because they're not, love is not singular one thing. And so there's this whole breadth of expression of that. And I really enjoy exploring that.
Beautiful. Becca, how about you?
So I liked the Daughters of the Moon deck as well at first in the beginning of the month. And then it shifted to, I think it's called the Thoth deck or the Thoth deck. Yeah, and I think that's what I wrote to at the end in that star card. So I actually want to get that deck. But I was inspired when I went on a trip to like Urban Outfitters with my daughter to get the Antique Anatomy Tarot, which is a really interesting deck. It has like, I guess instead of cups, it's like elixirs, and it's just slightly different. And then there's kind of an anatomy theme, and it has whatever the card's harmony is with astrology. So my daughters are into astrology now. So we've been having a lot of fun with that deck. So like I said, the tarot journey is continuing for me. I was new to it at first, but now I love it. So thank you.
So Urban Outfitters had that tarot deck in the store. That's a wild crossover.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah, it's kind of funny, a bizarre place maybe to find a tarot deck, but it spoke to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds so neat.
Yeah, any other tarot decks you came across that were totally different? There's so many. It's quite a journey. So yeah, any other thoughts about tarot and poetry?
I just want to say thank you, Tania, and thank you, Canon and Rebecca, for your time, and Tania, particularly all of your wonderful, insightful teaching and thoughtful prompts and everything. That was really a very cool challenge. And I'm going to try and keep up, writing a poem, not every day because I can't do that, but I'll try to do it more often. But yeah, that was a really, really fun experience. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to do this together. And so, regardless of whether the poems got written during that month, whatever you write from here on out, I hope you'll continue to share it with us, and I'll be excited to see what projects blossom out of that. So thank you for sharing your beautiful tarot poetry with us.